Hey guys, I put together this little video to address some of the most common questions I get in emails from customers that have purchased my coin roll crimp set. The most common question I get is why their rolls aren't as tight as the bank rolls. Well, first off, if you're referring to how tight they are up against the coins like on the side, there's no way to get the papers that you get from the bank or elsewhere to hug your coins the way these do, because these are a single sheet that is literally wrapped around the coins and then crimped on the ends. If you're referring to the ends themselves, let me show you this one. This is a bank roll, by the way. This is directly from the bank, and you can see the end is quite tight. Get it focused. And if I flip it over, you'll see that this end actually is not quite as tight. Maybe an issue with, when they wrap this whole set of pennies, but usually I do see both ends really tight. In either case, one of the reasons why many of you aren't getting really tight seals where it hugs the coins on the two ends is because the wrappers that we get either from the bank or from online retailers, they're just way too long, and there's a lot of paper in there. These are meant for you to just fold over the ends, so there has to be enough paper there to cover the coin when you fold it over. When you're crimping, it really doesn't take a lot of paper. If I open up this bank rolled roll of pennies, you'll see that the amount of paper that's rolled over is really not that much. It's maybe, this is pennies, maybe that's about 5 pennies worth of paper. And that's about it. And as you can see, I'll just take this one apart. The paper is actually wrapped around the coins. That's why they're so tight along the body of the roll. Now, what I usually do with mine when, if I really care about them being tight, otherwise, it's a little loose on the end, I don't really care, but if I'm saving rolls for myself, what I do is I cut off a little bit of the paper on the end. This is just something you have to play around with and figure out how much paper you need, but for the pennies, for example, if you look at where I cut this paper, it's somewhere around 62 pennies worth that will cover from end to end in the roll. The bank paper, the way it comes from the bank, that would cover about 73 pennies, so it's quite a bit larger than it needs to be. So this one I've pre-packed these with pennies just to show you, and I'll also go through the second biggest issue that people have, and that's not letting the coins themselves sit up against the little center hub in the crimpers. So take a penny out of here. So the penny has to sit up against the hub. You should have a stack of pennies sitting up against the hub while you're spinning. This way, when the paper rolls along the bottom and comes back up, it hits the edge of the penny and then rolls back around again. If you're trying to roll it the way the commercial rollers, just lost that penny. Likes to swallow pennies. I'll just take one out of this one. If you like to spin them this way, if you think this is going to work, which is how the commercial ones, they're not shaped like this, they're more cone shaped. You can put the roll in sideways and it crimps the end. These do not work that way. All right, these need to have a flat surface on top of the hub, namely the coins, in order to roll the paper back around again. If you try to do it this way, it's just going to crush the paper. So when you're spinning, you have to have the roll inverted with the crimp facing down and allow a stack of coins to just sit on top of that center hub. So I'll spin one and show you another little trick. So we'll do one end. All right, so get it set, flip it, and then find the top. All right, so then hold the paper just enough so it doesn't spin. Don't put too much pressure on the coins, because you need the coins to work their way up inside the paper to touch the bottom of this little cap that you put there as a little placeholder. It shows you how far the bottom crimp has to go before you need to stop. So if you hold on to it and just hold on to a few coins very lightly, just enough so that the paper doesn't spin, but allow the coins that are inside the paper to slide up, and go nice and slow. And when the paper is no longer getting shorter, that end is done. So if I show you that end, you can see that is a nicely crimped end, and it's nice and tight right now because it's pushed up against the cap that I was holding on the other end. So a little bit of room in there to make the second crimp. And now you can either use the cap or not use the cap, but if you use the cap, you're not going to get that super tight crimp that you want, because the center part of the cap is going to leave a little bit of extra space in there. Kind of did that on purpose so it doesn't crush the end of the first crimp that you made, but you can just put that aside if you want. And when you do the second side, just make an O like this and then spin it. Now you won't be able to see my hand because I have to invert this, but while you're doing this, if you're making an O, you're just holding on to the paper. That's it. You're not really holding on to coins. You want to hold on to the paper so it doesn't spin. And then while you're spinning it, I'll show you the other end. You can see the coins start to move up, just sliding between my fingers, and then they hit the other end, and that is a nice tight crimp on that side. And if I flip it over, it's a nice tight crimp on the other side as well. If you want to get it even tighter, you can flip it back over again and then just give it another little squeeze. You can see it pushes up against that first crimp and you get it even tighter. I mean, these coins are not moving at all inside this paper. There's zero room for them to move inside this paper. All right, and obviously along the body of the roll, there is a little bit of looseness, but that's unavoidable. You have to be able to get the coins inside the roll. All right, so hope that helps. Leave comments down below. Shoot me an email if you have any other issues. But hopefully that addresses most of what people have been emailing me about. All right, thanks.